When I saw the man at the door, I thought my husband had walked out and come back wearing another face. That's the only way I can describe the moment. The laughter froze around me, the clinking glasses went silent, and even the music seemed to choke in the air. It was supposed to be the happiest evening of our lives, our 10th wedding anniversary. Friends, family, colleagues, everyone who'd watched our love story unfold over the years. I had spent weeks planning it. Every candle, every song, every photograph on the wall had a memory stitched into it. And then, in the middle of that glow, a stranger appeared. A stranger who looked exactly like my husband. He stood in the doorway, tall, composed, even smiling politely, and on his arm was a woman I'd never seen before. The only thing louder than the music that suddenly restarted was my heartbeat, thudding in my ears like a warning. My husband, Daniel, was beside me at that very moment, his glass halfway to his lips. I remember watching his fingers tremble slightly, the color drain from his face. The glass slipped, shattered, and silence fell again. That's when I knew this wasn't a prank. This wasn't coincidence. Something enormous, something life-breaking, was about to unfold in front of everyone I knew. Daniel and I had met in the most ordinary way. I was a nurse at the community clinic. He was an architect volunteering on a renovation project for the old hospital wing. I remember the first day he came in, dusty blue jeans, white shirt rolled up at the sleeves, a pencil behind his ear. He had the kind of smile that made people believe they were seen, truly seen. He used to bring me sandwiches at lunch, saying, "If I let you keep skipping meals, who's going to patch me up when I fall off a ladder?" I fell for him. Not like in the movies, not fast, not reckless, but like rain soaking into dry ground. Slowly, completely. 10 years later, we'd built a quiet life together. We weren't rich, but our home was warm. There was laughter, weekend pancakes, burnt sometimes because Daniel always forgot the timer. Evenings on the porch, our dog, Milo, sleeping between us. We talked about starting a family, but the timing never seemed right. Daniel had been under pressure at work, new clients, new contracts. He'd come home late, sometimes distracted, but he'd always kiss my forehead and whisper, "Just tired, love. It's all for our future." I believed him. I always believed him. The party planning. Our anniversary meant a lot to me. 10 years. A whole decade of choosing each other. I wanted to surprise him, to remind us both how far we'd come. I'd been sneaky about it. Told him I was planning a small dinner, but behind the scenes, I invited everyone close to us. I even found our old wedding playlist, printed photos from our honeymoon in Santorini, and strung fairy lights across the backyard. Daniel had been away that week on a project review in another city. He came home the night before the party, tired but smiling. He hugged me longer than usual and said, "You always go too far for me." I laughed. "You deserve it." Now, when I think back, I wonder if there was guilt in that hug, if his sigh wasn't fatigue, but fear. The day of the party, I noticed something strange. Daniel was unusually quiet. He kept checking his phone, glancing toward the window, pacing. When I asked if everything was okay, he said, "Just waiting on a call from a client, don't worry." Then, during setup, our neighbor Martha dropped by with flowers. She joked, "I saw a man earlier who looked exactly like Daniel walking toward the old bakery." I almost called out to him, but he ignored me. Maybe he's got a twin out there. We both laughed it off. I remember Daniel pausing mid-sentence, the muscles in his jaw tightening. He said quickly, "People say that a lot. I have one of those faces." I didn't think about it again. Until that moment at the door. When the stranger walked in, my mind tried to make sense of it. I thought it was some cruel joke, maybe a look-alike hired by a friend. But Daniel's reaction killed that thought instantly. His face, pale, frozen, terrified, told me this was no accident. The stranger smiled at me gently, like someone meeting an old acquaintance. "Good evening," he said. His voice was the same tone, the same rhythm as Daniel's. My knees went weak. The woman beside him, dressed in a simple navy dress, looked confused. She held his hand tightly, her knuckles white. Someone whispered from the crowd. They look like twins. My breath caught. Daniel finally spoke, his voice low, shaking. Michael? The man nodded. It's been a long time, brother. The word brother hit me like thunder. Murmurs filled the room. Guests looking at each other, uncertain whether this was some family reunion or the start of a scandal. I stared at Daniel, waiting for an explanation, but his eyes darted everywhere. Anywhere but at me. Twin. I whispered. You have a twin? He swallowed hard. I can explain. The woman beside Michael looked at me softly and said, I think we should talk in private. But there was no privacy left in that room. Not when everyone's curiosity was slicing through the air. My heart felt like glass underfoot. All those little things, the odd business trips, the moments of distraction, the way Daniel always avoided talking about his childhood, they started lining up like puzzle pieces I hadn't wanted to see. And then, Michael, the twin I'd never heard of, said something that changed everything. He looked right at me and said, I didn't know Daniel had remarried. The room erupted. Gasps, whispers, phones lowering in disbelief. Remarried? I felt the floor tilt beneath me. I looked at my husband, my Daniel, but he couldn't even meet my eyes. Daniel, I said, my voice trembling. What does he mean by that? He didn't answer. The silence was his confession. I don't remember sitting down, but suddenly I was in a chair, clutching the edge of the table as though it could stop the world from spinning. My guests, our friends, shifted awkwardly, unsure whether to stay or slip away. I could hear Martha whisper to someone, remarried? What does he mean? The word remarried echoed like a bell, each repetition hammering harder into my chest. Daniel ran a trembling hand through his hair, the muscles in his jaw moving restlessly. Let's take this somewhere private, he muttered, but I could barely move. Answer him, I said quietly. What does he mean, remarried? His brother, Michael, looked confused, hurt even. Daniel, you told us you were working overseas. You said you were waiting for the divorce papers. The air went out of me like a punch. Divorce papers? My husband finally spoke, his voice cracking. It's not what it sounds like. It sounds, I whispered, my throat raw, like you have another wife. And then the room fell into that kind of silence that only happens when something irreparable has been said aloud. Someone, maybe Martha, guided the guests out gently, murmuring that we needed a moment. The lights dimmed, the music cut off, and soon it was just the four of us. Me, Daniel, his twin, and the woman who stood beside Michael. Her name, I learned later, was Elena. She had kind eyes, though they were brimming with confusion and fear. We sat in the living room, the faint smell of burnt candles and spilled wine lingering in the air. Daniel couldn't seem to stop pacing. Start talking, I said. My voice was calm, but my hands were shaking in my lap. From the beginning. He stopped in front of the window, his reflection staring back at him like an accusation. I was 21 when it happened, he began. Michael and I had a falling out. We were different. He stayed with our father after the divorce, and I left. We never spoke again. Michael interrupted sharply. You didn't just leave, Daniel. You disappeared. You changed your name. Daniel's eyes darted toward me, guilt flashing in them. I didn't change my name. I just stopped using our father's surname. I stared at him. You've been lying about your own name? He nodded slightly. It didn't matter back then. I wanted a new start. Michael leaned forward. You told us you were moving to Canada for work. A year later, Dad got sick. We tried to find you, but no one knew where you'd gone. Then one day, out of nowhere, I got a message from you, an invitation to your wedding. But by the time I wrote back, you'd vanished again. My breath caught. You invited him to our wedding? Daniel's voice was small. I didn't think he'd come. Because you never told me you had a brother, I said. He finally turned to me, eyes wet. I was ashamed, Claire. My family was broken. My father, he was cruel. I didn't want that part of my life anywhere near us. I shook my head slowly. No, this isn't about shame, Daniel. This is about secrets. Michael stood, pulling a crumpled photo from his pocket. It was old, worn at the edges, showing two identical young men standing beside a small white church. Between them was a woman in a wedding gown. "This is the last photo we took together," he said, handing it to me. "The day Daniel got married to Elena." The world went quiet again. I could hear my pulse roaring in my ears. "Married?" I whispered. Elena's lips trembled. "He told me it was annulled years ago. He said it never counted because it was done under false names." Daniel closed his eyes. "It was annulled," he said weakly. "At least I thought it was. I filed everything." Michael slammed his hand on the table. "No, you didn't. She waited years for you. Daniel, you disappeared with our savings, left her letters unanswered, and then you show up here, living a new life like none of it ever happened." I stood up, the photo slipping from my hand and fluttering to the floor. My voice was barely a whisper. "You were married before me." Daniel's silence was the only confirmation I needed. I turned toward Elena, who looked utterly broken. "You didn't know either, did you?" She shook her head, tears slipping down her cheeks. "I thought he was gone for good. I remarried later, but it didn't last. When I saw the anniversary post online, your picture, I thought I was seeing things." She looked at Daniel. I showed it to Michael. He thought it was some other man, but I knew it was you. The four of us sat in the dim light, surrounded by the remains of what was supposed to be a celebration. The scent of roses turned heavy, almost suffocating. I could feel my heart slowly hardening, piece by piece, as I tried to absorb it all. "So," I said quietly, "you built a new life on top of an old lie." Daniel knelt beside me, reaching for my hand, but I pulled it back. "Claire, please. It was over before I met you. I loved you. I still love you." I looked at him. "You loved me enough to hide half your life?" He winced. "I thought if you knew, you'd see me differently." "You're right," I said. "Idag." Michael rose. "Elena, and I should go." I nodded faintly, unable to find words. As they reached the door, Elena turned to me. "For what it's worth," she said softly, "I think you deserve better." And then they were gone. Aftermath of silence. That night, the house felt too big. The fairy lights outside flickered against the dark window panes. Daniel sat in the kitchen, his head in his hands, while I wandered from room to room, touching the pieces of our life like relics of a religion I no longer believed in. The smell of the candles, the half-eaten cake, the leftover laughter, all of it haunted me. When I finally went to bed, I didn't speak to him. I locked the door. He slept on the couch. In the quiet of the night, Milo whined and scratched softly at the door, as if he could sense the fracture that had split the house in two. And I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, hearing Elena's words again and again. "I think you deserve better." The next morning, the house was eerily quiet. No birds, no kettle whistle, not even the usual morning hum of traffic. Just silence, thick, heavy, accusing silence. Daniel was still on the couch, his head bowed, the same clothes he'd worn last night. His phone lay shattered on the floor beside him, as if he'd thrown it in anger or despair. I didn't care which. I moved around the kitchen like a ghost. Every sound felt too loud. The clink of a cup, the running tap, the hum of the refrigerator. Finally, he spoke. "Claire, we need to talk." I didn't look at him. "About what? Which wife you're addressing?" He flinched like I'd slapped him. "Please, don't do that." I turned to face him, my voice trembling but sharp. "You lied to me for 10 years, Daniel. 10 years. You looked me in the eye every morning and told me you loved me, knowing there was another version of you out there, another life you buried." He stood up, his voice cracking. "I didn't mean to hurt you. I thought it was over, Claire. I thought I'd moved on, that I could build something real. With a lie as a foundation?" I cut in. "You didn't build anything real. You just built a prettier version of your guilt." He sighed, covering his face. "What do you want me to say?" "Nothing," I said. "Because every word that comes out of your mouth right now feels fake." The distance between us. Days passed like that. We spoke only when necessary: bills, groceries, Milo's vet appointment. We were still living in the same house, but our worlds had stopped overlapping. At night, he tried to talk. He'd knock gently on my door. Sometimes I'd pretend to be asleep. Other times I'd sit there, staring at the handle, daring it to turn, but it never did. One evening, I went through his old files. Not because I wanted to find something, but because I already knew I would. And I did. In the bottom drawer, beneath insurance papers and expired passports, I found an envelope labeled closure. Inside were two things: a faded marriage certificate with his name and Elena's, and a letter. It was dated 3 months before our wedding. Elena, I can't do this anymore. I've found someone new. Please, let's both move on. You deserve someone who can love you honestly. Daniel. I read it again and again until the words blurred. 3 months before he promised me honesty. 3 months before he swore forever. I laughed bitterly, a sound that didn't sound human. And that's when it began. Not the revenge itself, but the thought of it. The next morning, I went out early. I didn't tell him where I was going. I just needed air. But what I really did was drive across town to see Elena. She opened the door hesitantly, her eyes red but soft. Claire, I didn't think you'd come. I just needed to talk, I said, woman to woman. We sat in her small, sunlit kitchen. It was cozy, a few potted plants, a kettle steaming softly, photos of a life that seemed simple, honest. I keep thinking, I said quietly, how strange it is that we both married the same man and neither of us truly knew him. Elena nodded, twisting her wedding ring, the one she still wore. He was charming, kind, but always hiding something. I thought it was my fault. I thought I wasn't enough. I looked up at her. It wasn't you. Her eyes filled again. You know, when I found that anniversary post, I wasn't angry at you. I was angry at myself for believing his lies for so long. We sat in silence for a while. Then she said something that stuck with me. You can't fight a liar with anger. You have to fight him with truth. Those words lit a spark in me. A week later, I hosted another gathering. Same house, same garden. Only this time, there was no soft music, no wine, no smiles. It was a fundraiser for Daniel's company, or so everyone thought. He had no idea what I'd planned. I invited colleagues, neighbors, even Michael and Elena. When everyone had arrived, Daniel stood on the deck, ready to give his usual polished speech. I waited until the clinking of glasses quieted, then stepped beside him. Before my husband begins, I said calmly, there's something I'd like to share. Daniel looked at me uneasy. Claire, maybe we should.
No, darling, ismilat finally.
Let me. I turned to the crowd. You all know us as the perfect couple. 10 years married, successful, happy. But tonight, I'd like to tell you the truth behind that picture. A murmur rippled through the guests. I held up the photo, the one from years ago of Daniel and Elena on their wedding day. The same smile, the same suit,
the same man, gasps.
Whispering, Daniel stepped forward, panic flashing in his eyes. Claire, that's not. Oh, it is, I said evenly. My husband, ladies and gentlemen, forgot to mention that this wasn't his first wedding, or his only one. He froze. The color drained from his face. Michael tried to intervene, but I continued, voice clear and steady. He built his success, his reputation, his life on lies. Lies to his wife, his family, and everyone who trusted him. I handed the photo to a stunned guest and walked off the stage. Behind me, I heard Daniel calling my name, but I didn't look back. For the first time in 10 years, I felt free. That night, social media exploded. Photos, videos, everyone knew. His company issued a statement by morning claiming personal matters, but the damage was done. He came home hours later, his eyes hollow. You ruined me, he whispered. No, I said softly. You did that yourself. I just stopped protecting you. He stared at me for a long moment, then walked out the door. I never saw him again. Months passed. I started painting again, something I hadn't done in years. Elena and I stayed in touch. Sometimes we'd meet for coffee, talk about everything and nothing. Milo still scratched at the same door every night, as if expecting him to come back. But I didn't. I'd learned something important. Closure doesn't always come in the form of forgiveness. Sometimes it comes when you finally stop waiting for an apology. On the anniversary of that night, 1 year later, I lit a single candle by the window. Not for him. For the woman I used to be. The one who believed love meant blindness. Now I see clearly. And that, I realized, is the sweetest revenge of all. A cool wind blew through the window that night, lifting the curtain like a faint sigh from the past. I sat at my little desk by the window, sketching the facade of our old home. The one I once shared with him. The one I no longer needed. The moonlight cast long shadows across the page, turning the architecture into something unfamiliar, yet still mine. Then the knock came. It was soft, tempered with hesitance. I froze mid-stroke, set my pencil down, and walked to the door. On the threshold stood him. Daniel, coat in hand, his expression hollow, as though guilt had hollowed out the man I once knew. Claire.
His voice was bare.
We need to talk again. For a moment, I said nothing. The door stood between us, a fragile barrier made of wood and possibility. He nodded, and I silently stepped aside, letting him in. Milo patted nearby, curious, giving Daniel a sniff, then turned his back and walked away. The dog knew things before we did. The return. We sat on opposite sides of the sofa. Candles flickered on the coffee table, but the room felt colder than the night outside. He didn't reach for me. He didn't ask to sit closer. He just sat, distanced but present. I've lost everything, he finally said. The company, my reputation, half our savings because of the lie. I was forced out. I watched his reflection in the window. I recognized the man then, but I didn't feel the same empathy. My heart had built its own walls. Do you think I'm sorry? He asked. I know I should be. I lived 10 years thinking I'd buried my past. I believed you were my redemption, Claire. But I kept the lie because I was scared that if I told you, you'd leave me. I leaned forward. And you were right. I said quietly, I did leave you, but not because of what you did alone. Because I realized I was staying for what you promised, not who you were. He nodded. I understand now. Then something else. Elena found a way to help me try to clean it up. I accepted help. I begged for it. His voice trailed off. My heart tightened. I still cared, in small, quiet ways. But that was about the old me. The part who believed in us. That part had moved out. I came back, he said, to ask for a place to belong. If you'll let me stay, I'll do the work. I'll be honest. I'll rebuild. The weight of that sentence settled between us. I inhaled the scent of burnt candle wax and old paper. I held the moment. No, I said finally. You can't rebuild with me, not now. I'm rebuilding without you. His head dropped. The silence filled the room again. But he said, would you even sit with me just once? To join in the effort? To at least try to repair what we had? I looked into his eyes and saw the boy I first loved. I saw the man who built half a life on stolen truth. I saw someone asking for forgiveness he didn't deserve yet. I did not say yes. I did not say no. I said, I'll give you space. I'll give you closure. That's my gift. The rest? You'll have to earn it somewhere else. He nodded slowly, rose and left. The door closed softly. The shadows shifted. The house exhaled. In the weeks that followed, I changed the locks. I filled the spare room with books and sketches. I began a community art class for young women in our neighborhood, because years ago, I gave up painting for someone else's dream of success. Milo enjoyed longer walks. I found solace in early mornings when the world was quiet. I tasted coffee in the sun, watched dawn break over my city, and discovered how good it felt to belong to myself. I still feel the sting sometimes. Memories flick like old movie reels. Our laughter, our brunches, the smell of his cologne on the porch after a climb in the woods. But now I feel pride, too. Pride in the woman who faced the truth, who didn't crumble, who refused to be defined by someone else's deception. Elena and I exchanged messages occasionally. She's remarried now, working as a teacher, volunteering. We share stories of healing, of picking ourselves up. I don't regret the years or him. I just understand them differently now. I carry the lessons instead of the grief. One evening, I went back to our anniversary garden. I lit a single candle on the table among the fairy lights. This time I sat alone. The breeze whispered through the trees. The chairs held their place, but no longer mourned a lost conversation. I raised my glass to the empty seat across from me, not in sorrow, but in respect. To the love I once believed in, to the lie I had to uncover, and to the truth I finally embraced. Would I have done something differently if I had known? Maybe. But maybe the woman I am now wouldn't exist yet. I learned that love isn't just what you build together. It's also what you protect yourself from, what you refuse to accept. I learned that hiding a truth for 10 years doesn't preserve love. It erodes it. And I learned, when somebody gives you half the truth, maybe what you need isn't half the pain, they gave you the whole.